Hey, it's Peter Hilliard again here with a second video about George Gershwin and Crazy for You. In the last video, I discussed how our memory of Gershwin's sound is colored by these orchestrators and by the many arrangements that other people made of his music. At this time around, I'll be talking more specifically about Peter Howard's dance arrangements for Crazy for You. I'm going to follow one particular musical thread through Crazy for You into Gershwin's other music, and then follow the musical idea back into things Gershwin loved from another composer that found their way into his music. So let me demonstrate what I'm talking about. Listen carefully, there will be a test. Here's part of an instrumental passage in Crazy for You. And here's another. These passages sound a lot like Gershwin because he did this kind of thing a lot in his concert works. We don't find them all that often in the work of his contemporaries. When we were blocking I Got Rhythm, I was struck by this passage which I almost can't play. I knew I'd heard that passage somewhere. It took me a while to find it, and then I found the passage note for note in an advanced arrangement of I Got Rhythm that Gershwin himself wrote in a book for advanced pianists. That passage in Crazy for You was authentic sounding because it actually was Gershwin. Here's a recording of Peter Howard himself playing the phrase in his cabaret act.
Old man trouble, I don't mind him, you won't find him.
But not only is that genuine Gershwin, it's also something that Gershwin loves to do. Let's take it apart for a second. There's a whimsical little tune up top. That you could whistle if you wanted to. Right? But underneath that little whimsical tune is a really pretty ninth chord. Quite lovely. Gershwin loves little pairs of thirds like that. And each note of that chord slips chromatically down to the next note, down and down, like a kid going down the slide on a playground. Gershwin does this in a lot of his songs. Old man sunshine, listen you, never tell me dreams come true. Remember that? You can hear, we can all sing that, very simple, but underneath, kid going down the slide. Here's another example, which is actually in Crazy for You. Holding hands at midnight, neath the starry sky, right? So, very easy to understand tune, but underneath it, it doesn't quite follow exactly the pattern all the way down, but you can certainly hear it. How about this one? But oh, if we call the whole thing off, then we must part. And oh, if we ever part, then that might break my heart. The melody is very singable, and it's up high. Underneath it, you have a descending line. Now, you jazz fans know that this is a very common way of working through the circle of fifths, but that descending line, very important to Gershwin's voicing, very distinctive. Here's a crazy passage from a musical that we don't do very often anymore, Of Thee I Sing. Let's see if I can sing this. I've got a crazy lyric. All the sexes from Maine to Texas have never known such love before. Love that lyric, absolutely ridiculous. The tune, again, very easy to hear. The descending line, though, right? Coming down the stairs, one note at a time. Kind of wild. He also loves doing this in his concert music. Here it is in Rhapsody in Blue, which turned 100 during our run of Crazy for You. I'm going to take this slow so that you can hear it. See that? Maybe you never noticed this before. The tune, kind of diatonic and pretty. Underneath it, though. And then he just does the same thing and lower. And so forth. Here it is in American in Paris. A little simpler, but definitely the same idea. There's a chromatic line coming down, and above it, little tune, pretty easy to recognize. Here it is in his Cuban overture. I'm going to take this a little bit slower so you can pick it out, and so I can play it. I don't know if that quite gave the correct impression. I'll play a real recording of it now. Here it is in Porgy and Bess. Again, I'm going to play it slow. I hope you can hear what I'm talking about. I hope you're an expert now. Let's test you. Here are some other examples. I want you to listen carefully, see if you can hear that Gershwin sound. First example, and listen particularly for this last chord, which is very Gershwin. It's very Gershwin, that last chord. Here's another one. Here's another tiny little passage. I'm going to do it slowly so you can watch my hands. It's a really pretty one. Here's another one. Again, I'm going to go super slow. One last one that might sound kind of familiar to you. When you hear that, it just says Gershwin, doesn't it? Except that those last few that I played you weren't actually by Gershwin. They were written in the first decade of the 20th century by the French Impressionist composer Claude Debussy. And that brings us to one important facet of Gershwin's extraordinary gift to American music: the way he mainstreamed advanced French harmony into American popular music. Irving Berlin once said, "The songs Gershwin wrote in his last year are among the finest any of us wrote. We were all pretty good songwriters, but Gershwin was something else. He was a composer." I think this is what he was talking about. Irving Berlin famously played the piano in only one key, F sharp. He didn't really read music, and he needed a musically literate person to help him notate his songs so they could be published. There's an anecdote that Gershwin may have approached him wanting that job, and Berlin told him he couldn't have it. To be sure, Irving Berlin knew what he wanted to hear when his music was performed, but the process of writing a song for him was about a good lyric and a good tune, which needed to be accompanied somehow, and that would be worked out later. With Gershwin, the accompaniment and harmonic ideas are somehow integral to the product itself. And these distinctive harmonic elements that Gershwin brings to the table are often synthesized from French models. Gershwin probably first became familiar with Claude Debussy's music while studying the piano with Charles Hambitzer from 1912 to 1916. At the time, Debussy was still alive, and his music was at the cutting edge of French innovation. When Debussy died in 1918, The mantle of what we now call Impressionism was taken up by Maurice Ravel, a man Gershwin desperately wanted to teach him lessons. Ravel politely refused, referring him to the same French pedagogue, Nadia Boulanger, that was teaching his soon-to-be orchestrator, Robert Russell Bennett. She also reportedly refused to take him as a student. Maurice Ravel visited the United States and celebrated his 53rd birthday at a party thrown by Eva Gautier. Look at this picture of that party. The other partygoers look out, but Gershwin seems transfixed by Ravel and his hands. To me, this picture perfectly captures the wonder Gershwin had at the diminutive French composer and his music, and his sheepish insecurity that he would ever be good enough to play in the same league as his heroes. He asked so many famous composers to teach him, and so many refused him that biographers can't even keep the stories straight. Which composer found out how much he was paid and quipped, "You should be teaching me"? Which composer said, "I'd only make you a bad version of myself and you're already a good Gershwin"? Who knows? These stories are told about a lot of people Gershwin apparently sought lessons from. Nobody would teach him, so he taught himself. On the trip to Paris, where he bought the car horns for his new tone poem, An American in Paris, he also bought the complete works of Debussy and scores by Alban Berg. He liked Berg's music so much that he hired a string quartet to play it for him so he could hear what the 12-tone lyric suite sounded like. Gershwin even uses Stravinsky's Petrushka chord in American in Paris. He loved new and daring music. Arnold Schoenberg, with whom he played tennis regularly in Los Angeles, once said that Gershwin wrote, quote, "as a tree bears apples." The irony, of course, is that before he died of a brain tumor rather suddenly at the age of 38, Gershwin succeeded in creating a body of work that has proven just as long-lived as his heroes. And he did it by finding ways to take the ideas from avant-garde music that he loved and putting them in forms that could be understood by ordinary people. This process of taking things that you love, disassembling them, and adding your own spin, your own flavor to them, is a deeply American way of making culture, and it stems partially from things that white Americans learned from black culture. In every generation, there are folks trying to find ways to spruce up the old things and make them sing again. Some of them, like Bobby and Polly and Crazy for You, are fixing up old theaters and putting on shows to keep the bankers away. Some of them, like Peter Howard, are carefully capturing the spirit of old shows in new arrangements, enabling a new generation to enjoy their many charms. And some of them, like Gershwin himself, are doing the best they can to write like their heroes, with a contemporary twist. I hope you enjoyed this short exploration of some aspects of George Gershwin's music. Like and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you next time.